Welcome to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show, where you'll learn the ins and outs of buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Our 1-hour program airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. and repeats Sundays at noon, and offers new topics and discussion each and every week. Learn how to sell your home for more money and how to be savvy when buying a home. With over 35 years of experience each, let's now join your local experts, Wally and Cindy Kerr, along with your host, Dave McKay, for this week's live show.
It's the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show. My time for my weekly dose of real estate, so I can feel like a real estate expert as well as you two. And it's Wally and Cindy Kerr joining me. How are we doing today?
Doing great.
And you've done that over the last year and a half.
I've learned so much.
I bet you could. I bet you could do a real estate show today on your own. I bet you could do a really good job without us here today.
You know what? I could do a show on some of the do's and don'ts. There's a lot of little things like I'm going to miss out on, well, this kind of loan will allow you to do this, or this rehab
some of the
loan,
more technical.
Yes, but I could talk about, when winter comes around, these are the things you want to check out. In summertime, you want to check out. And,
you know what? You could be at a party and you could talk real estate and your friends would go, wow.
Yes, and don't think I haven't done that. Well, and Wally, we keep talking about adding new topics every week. I keep thinking that we're going to start hearing maybe some repeated topics, but we've been doing, I don't know how many shows now we're down, like 70, 80 shows or somewhere around there. And we always
find about right.
something different to talk about. So go ahead, surprise me. What are we going to talk about today that maybe we haven't discussed before?
Dave, we're going to talk about why playing follow the leader is a bad idea. Remember follow the leader?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The last 2 weeks, we talked about home inspectors' secrets. We did that 2 weeks in a row and talked about things that the home inspector wasn't going to tell you or probably wouldn't tell you or even shouldn't tell you. Today, a little bit different, things you should know about the home inspection process overall. Okay. This is for both home buyers and sellers, and we set this up for this week again because we're still in buying season. Buying season's beginning to slow down a little bit. We'll talk about that today too. Also, how about some great ideas on how to save money on your homeowner's insurance today?
I love it.
Got some really good ones for our listeners as the cost of insurance goes up, and we'll share those. I think our listeners will really enjoy that. Lots of good content, I hope, today. As you're right, we try to keep everything fresh here. You might hear a topic that might sound familiar, but we always try to change the content to hit it from a different perspective.
Well, and that is something like we talked about when it's something technical, you kind of want to update things. When it is percentages and interest rates, you want to give the latest information on those. And make sure you stick around. We're here the whole hour. And then if you can't stick around, please join us tomorrow at noon. That's the replay. You can also go to all the podcast networks and go to wallytalkshouses.com. It's real easy to subscribe, get notifications when new shows are added, and get all the old shows as well.
That's right. And be sure and listen on Sundays, because what Dave does is he tapes the show and then he fixes all of our flub-ups from our Saturday show and cleans that all.
Flub-ups?
Isn't that the way you do
have any
That's
flub-ups.
right. That's why the show is only about 40 minutes on Sundays. So, stick around. We'll be back in 2 minutes to kick off the show.
Hey, it's John Tesh, and if you're selling this year, there's only one man who's willing to guarantee the sale of your home at a price agreeable to you, or he's going to buy it himself. And that's Wally Kerr at your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 999-6000. He's the only man I'd call to sell my home because he has a proven system that just creates more demand for any home. And that's what you want. More buyers interested so that you, voila, put more money in your pocket. Call Wally today at your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 918-999-6000. That's 999-6000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Would your home sell faster and for more money if it were in better condition? Introducing our Fix It to Sell program. For one reasonable, flat fee, we're willing to advance you the money to make needed repairs or improvements when you list your home for sale with us, so that you can sell your home faster and for more money. Call Wally at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000 to access our Fix It to Sell program. And remember, if you're selling your home, Wally has the buyers. Call us today at 330-3000.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233, Equal Housing Lender.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy, along with Dave McKay.
Well, I want to stop and do this before we get right into the show. The movie Twisters just came out recently. Already a big hit at the box office. Almost,
I saw some of those numbers.
Yes, and has it not almost eclipsed what it cost to make the movie already in the first week or so?
I think that's what I saw. It was like $150 million or something to make the movie, and I think in opening weekend, just last weekend, didn't it do almost that much? I didn't pay
about
that much.
$140 million, I think,
Wow.
or $145 million. And
Amazing.
the top grossing theater in the U.S. was in Moore. The Moore
Oh,
Warren
my
Theaters
goodness.
Oh, I
was
didn't
number
hear that.
one. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I-
imagine that, where,
Well-
of course, that's right in the middle of Tornado Alley there. And they
Well,
were the
it
number
got
one
hit.
theater.
I think that's what's ironic is the Warren just barely got clipped right next to that Moore Medical Center. Remember that? They got
Yes.
destroyed and they were
Oh, that was horrific.
getting
So much
patients out. But yeah,
devastation.
that is interesting that I didn't realize it was the top grossing location nationwide.
I have not seen it yet, but I've heard like the special effects and everything are great. And I remember there was a site or some kind of service, Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
I think in their infancy, they would kind of slam movies, but now they've become almost the standard for rating movies. And I think it got like a 92% approval rating with
Wow.
Rotten Tomatoes
Wow.
for Twisters.
Okay.
So there you go.
I wonder if there's a flying cow in this one.
There was a lot of stuff flying through the air. In that
We
movie.
tried to get tickets for opening weekend, and there was lots of questions and things
You
you,
couldn't
had
even
to do.
sit
and I just-
together. It was sold out.
Well, you talked about stuff flying through the original movie. You remember when that house kind of rolled and was
Yes.
almost flying through
Yes.
the air?
Uh-huh.
So that gets me to think about, I've had high winds at my house. I've had a little bit of hail. I've missed having a true tornado come right into our neighborhood. So that's great. But it kind of gets me to wonder, like, what is my home capable of maybe withstanding, or what can my home take? So is my home maybe weather ready for something like that?
Yeah,
And
I
how
think
do
that's a
even get
question a
there?
lot of people ask, right? Especially if your home was built in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So, Dave, one way to improve your home's chances of surviving a tornado is to make sure and check to see if the walls and the roof and the foundation of your home are firmly connected together, which is what they call a continuous load path. That just means all parts of the home are evenly distributing the force of the strong winds. Most homes built in climates like ours that are tornado prone, most of the homes that were built after 1990, which would include your home, right? Your home was built in
2004.
early 2000s,
Yes.
right? So if they were built after 1990, they were constructed with this continuous load path construction in mind. But some homes will need to be retrofitted with anchor bolts and what are called hurricane straps. You've heard of those, right?
Yes, yes.
There's been a lot of several of the home builders did radio commercials for years and did a lot of marketing materials and talked about these hurricane straps. And they're just simply stainless or galvanized steel connectors that help reinforce the connection between the roof and the walls of your home. It's all about anchoring. So even if the structure of a house can escape a tornado, the house still succumbs because it's tossed off its foundation. Dave, stats show that if a home is well anchored, it can usually withstand winds of like 160 up to 170.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
And,
quick.
and you can still have the inner bones still intact.
Do most of the home builders building new homes these days, are they all practicing the continuous load path as well right now?
Most builders do, Dave, but I also think it's a really good question to ask the most affordable home builders.
Yeah, there are some builders who are following city code, but I think building to minimums. And I understand that. They're trying to help the affordability,
Yes,
right?
uh-huh.
But I think that would be a really good question for some of the areas in the state's more affordable builders. And I won't name that because I don't want to pick on anyone. They're building a product to satisfy a segment of the market, right?
Sure.
And so if you don't want to live in an apartment forever and all you can afford is $220,000, there are some new homes in the metro that are available for $220,000.
Is that what somebody should ask when they visit with a builder?
That's the national term, but what I would be asking about is, are there homes fitted with anchor bolts and hurricane straps?
Let me ask you this, and this is a little bit more about survival of myself versus maybe the home, but we talked, it might have been a month or two, about a local bank. Was it Tinker Federal Credit Union that was doing the tornado shelters as well? They had a special deal or something like that.
I looked at that website because one of my agents had asked me about it, and this has been 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it was at a 2.99% interest rate. So if you borrowed $3,000, they would give you 3 years to pay it back. And the payment was only like between $85 and $90 a month.
Wow, that's well worth it.
I think
absolutely.
It's an amazing offer from Tinker Federal, and we're not endorsing them. We don't bank there, but they're offering a great program, and it's really cool, Dave. You can actually go in and open a savings account with them for $5.
So can anybody do that?
Anybody can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can. And I tell you what else is cool is the agent had said, would that qualify for like an above-ground safe room that you would build in your garage? And they're not specifying in-ground or above ground. So I looked, and if you borrowed $5,000, you have 5 years to pay it back.
Okay.
You know, the payment was still between $85 and $90
Sure.
a month. So if you don't like crawling into a hole, as Cindy says, with the spiders and all the creepy crawlies down there, which I don't really enjoy, and I'm a little claustrophobic.
Yeah. The only thing I would add about that is if it's in your garage and now you're taking your garage from a 2-car to a 1-car, that can have an impact on your value.
I'd be really careful about that. You know, I also don't like closed spaces because I figure when I get in there and spend some time, Cindy's honeydew list is going to get even longer while we're sitting in the storm shelter.
Since she has you trapped,
That's
it's
right.
like, hey, Wally, let me tell you about this. Okay, so that's really a good idea. And now, how do I check and see, because I might want to put a new shelter in, how do I check and see if my home has a continuous load path, if it was built that way? Because if it wasn't, then I'd be even more interested in getting a shelter.
Yeah, just call a structural engineer, don't you
That's
think,
right.
Cindy?
And we have a list of names of structural engineers that our customers have used, and they'll be able to tell you with a pretty quick inspection. And I think it's worth the money when you consider your family's safety.
Especially, it's really true that global warming seems to be changing our climate enough to increase the likelihood of more severe storms every year.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially we see more flooding and wildfires on the West Coast as well. Let's talk about something else that's changing and get right into our first House Talk segment of the day. Good news is always good, especially when it's good news for home buyers who are fighting for affordability. It seems like we always have to touch on that almost every week.
We do.
And we know that rates have slid down just a bit, and you've got more good news and information to share, right, Wally?
I do, Dave. So do you remember playing Follow the Leader when you were a kid?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So how did that work?
It was always either doing something goofy or running, or it was almost like when you're at the club and the Emotions Love Train comes on and you're following the train around the dance floor. Follow the Leader, a little bit more different. You had to accomplish certain things that they were doing. If they stopped and touched the couch or stopped and did this, you had to do the same thing. You had to emulate what the leader was doing.
And if you didn't, the leader was just going to win, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about the current market and how you don't want to play Follow the Leader, and here's why.
Okay.
So the inventory is increasing, and buyers are lukewarm with where interest rates are today, and they're watching right now for price reductions. They're watching for owners. They typically, Dave, if you went on and searched on the internet for 45 minutes today, I can promise you'd find a home you liked.
Sure.
Okay? It might not be one you can afford, but you'd find one you could like. And you know what you might do is you might go, man, I really like that home. If it got cheap enough, could I really swing the bat and take a shot on this property? That's what buyers are doing right now.
Okay.
And so what if there's a home that's similar to yours and they reduce before you do, and a buyer jumps on that home?
You know, I know the answer to that. You probably figure that if your neighbor's home sold, that yours will too, so long as you reduce your price too. But you know what? Not so fast here. What assurance do you have that there is another buyer for a home just like yours?
Yeah, just because I follow what the leader did doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to win this game.
And that was the analogy today. So with inventory increasing and the kids are headed back to school soon, showing activity's probably going to really fall off at some price points. By the way, do you know that more schools actually starts in less than 2 weeks? More public schools. We have Brian Tomei goes to church with us.
Okay.
And he's a teacher and loves his job. He said, I can't wait to get back to school. And I thought, you know what?
August
That's
8th,
the reason
is
you're
that?
a teacher, buddy. Is you love
great.
teaching. He said, I
Yes.
can't wait to get back to the kids. And he said, we start on August 8th.
That
and I
seems
said, wait a minute.
really
Really?
early.
Yeah,
early.
I agree.
Really early.
I agree. So from what I've seen, all the other major school districts start the week after, around the 14th or 15th. But it is, it's coming up really fast.
Remember when it was Labor Day?
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was in
Yeah, it was Labor
California.
Day.
It
Yeah,
was
we
always
never
in
started till last week.
September.
Yeah,
Yes.
but we're giving our age away, so let's get off of that point real fast.
A lot of parents start the back to school routine at least a week before, so you have to think about that too. And that probably doesn't include moving into another home unless you've already got a home under contract and you're waiting to close.
So that means, of course, the window is closing for a lot of homes on the market.
Yeah, and it's common this time of year, and some sellers may decide to take their home off the market and wait until the spring when there's probably going to be 2 or 3 rate reductions that have taken place. But that's speculation. Who knows? What happens when the Fed drops rates 1 or 2 times? And if inflation returns, there's no guarantee that rates will be lower
And
next
we have
year.
an election between now and then, so who knows about that?
And what about the homes that are sitting vacant on the market right now? So some
yes.
owners really need to sell that home because they want to access their equity. Maybe they're moving to Florida and they need the equity out of their home here and they don't
Sure.
want to just take it off the market and rent it. They'd like to buy in Florida. And so maybe they've got a home that they found down there doing their searching on the internet like you were doing.
Yes.
And then a lot of owners can't qualify to buy another home until the one sold here in Oklahoma. So some of these homes just need to be sold now. And I see lots of price reductions, but are you following the leader or not? Or are you taking the lead?
It's decision-making time for a lot of owners,
is.
indeed, with homes on the market. So what's your best advice before school starts in, 2 to 3 weeks now?
The first thing that we tell our sellers is review your showing feedback, and we review that with them. If it's on the market now, what are people saying about
Sure.
it? What are agents saying about it? What are prospective buyers saying
It
about it?
doesn't really matter what they want for the home or think it's worth or maybe what we even think it's worth. The only thing that matters is the buyer's feedback, right?
That's exactly right. And if you're resisting that, well, then you're probably not going to end up with the sale. If you're hanging on to a price that the market doesn't want to pay with hopeful memories, perhaps you remember your neighbor's house selling for more money, but that was a different market.
I bet there's a lot of that going on right now because when you look at homes across the street that sold for maybe $10,000 or $20,000 over a listed price, but you weren't ready to sell your home at the time, the market is a lot different right now, isn't it?
The number of homes available, we've begun to use the term signs in yards.
Yes.
So that means there's a sign in the yard because it's for sale, or there's still a sign in the yard because the home is under contract but
Right.
it hasn't closed yet. Dave, that signs in yards is now over 10,200 signs in yards in the Oklahoma City metro, and only 31% of those were under contract as of this last week. So over 7,000 homes available, and that number's increasing each week now. This is a time when, again, the subject today is, should you follow the leader or should you take the lead? And that's
Yes.
the point here is, why wait until somebody else reduces their price? If you're watching your feedback and it's telling you it's either too high or it's not in a location, maybe the neighbor's house doesn't
Or
look
the
great,
condition isn't right.
or the condition's not right, it's time to make a move. We're getting late in the season and school's starting. It's
Sure.
time to do something about this so that your home doesn't just sit on the market.
When you do get that feedback, I know that you have a couple of your consumer programs that could help out. Like if there was something like, the carpet or there's just crown molding that needs to be fixed, all that stuff. You have the Fix It to Sell program where you go in and use some of your own money to fix a couple of the items that need to be fixed. And of course, which is great, the Guaranteed to Sell program where I'm looking for this house, but I have a house that needs to be sold, or I know that someone wants to buy my house and we don't know if they can sell theirs. You can make accommodations where you can buy someone's home to help them get into the other home just as quick. So I say all that to say, I think that you're about to get a lot of calls in the coming weeks and months.
You know what it is, Dave? When a listing expires, the homeowner is typically looking for certainty in getting their home sold because the previous agent didn't just get it done. And we know that's what our owners want, and we offer proven solutions for them.
You know, that Fix It to Sell program that you mentioned, I do see homes that just sit, and buyers look and say, got my down payment money, I think I can pay my closing costs, but I really just don't have the money to change the carpet. I've got a young child. The owner had a dog. They had a cat. I don't want my kids crawling around on this carpet. I don't like this wallpaper. The home needs paint on the inside. So our Fix It to Sell program is just one. We've done this to pick up extra business this year, of course, because the market is slower.
Yes.
People are hanging on to that low interest rate that they've got. We've done this to help people and just won't charge one very small, reasonable fee to loan people the money, so long as they're qualified to do so and pay us back, to make that home more appealing so that it will sell in the current market.
And you know, I think it really helps because buyers, many times they're both working, they have young children, their lives are busy, and they just don't have either the money to do those repairs or the time to call contractors and get them in. So if a home can be live-in ready condition when they move in, they can go on with their lives.
So this is my opportunity to step aside and gloat on you guys because you have helped me purchase homes. You have sold my homes. The same for relatives of mine as well, and done fantastic jobs. And not only have you been in the business for a very long time.
Hey, careful. You're stepping on sacred ground.
But now you have all of these different programs where I don't have to reach out and try it. Now I got to find a handyman. Now I got to do all this stuff to repair this. And now what am I going to do to sell this? Do I need to go to an investor? Do I need to go here? You handle everything, and you've done it for so many years. That's why I think you guys are the perfect place to look into if it involves anything remotely associated with buying or selling a home.
So don't do too much of a sell job on us here, because you know what's good about everything that we've done with your family is we've made some amazing friends.
Absolutely.
You've got an amazing family, an extended family, your mom, your brother. We got to help them, and I mean the friendships, new friends, people we want to hang out with.
Yes.
You know, and it's just been a pleasure.
Well, you know, over the course of the 30 plus years, I'll just leave it at that, you have gained a lot of wisdom, and impart that wisdom upon me in the last year and a half. Of course, it shows because I'm very knowledgeable now. Of course, I can be an agent. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Wally's Weekly Wisdom. Stick around.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758, Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233, Equal Housing Lender.
Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 330-3000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Wally has the buyers at Kerr Team Real Estate. Simply text your address to 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Did you get an offer for your home from Open Door and it was just too low? Find out what your home is really worth in today's market and how much we'd pay for your home. Call Wally at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000 and let's talk. 330-3000.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy along with Dave McKay.
Hey, Wally, just before we get into Wally's Weekly Wisdom, you have some tickets for that event coming up. We talked about this last week. Tell our listeners about the event and how they can get free tickets.
Absolutely. We've got about, I think, 50 or 60 tickets left. We bought a bundle, and these are to the Renovation and Landscaping Show that is next weekend at the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds. It starts Friday. It goes Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd, and Sunday the 4th, and it's good with free parking. So if you'd like to have free tickets, we'll give you at least 2 when you call. And depending on how many we've given away, we might be able to give you 3 or 4. To the Renovation and Landscaping Show next weekend, give us a call at 330-3000, and we'll figure out a way to hook up with you and get you free tickets.
All right, so this week on Wally's Weekly Wisdom, Wally, what do we have on tap for today?
Well, everybody sells for different reasons. Some people are moving from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania. Some people are living here and they're moving perhaps to a retirement community, maybe slowing down in life.
Yes.
Maybe it's assisted living. Most of those people own a lot of things that really would have great value to a buyer. Perhaps you're buying your first home and you're going to need a wheelbarrow and you're going to need a hoe and a rake and water hoses and the lawn chairs that are sitting on the back patio.
Jungle gym for the kids.
What about a mower? What about even if it's a riding lawnmower? I've seen a lot of folks that as they get older in life, they'll live on an acreage for a long time, and then they'll move into perhaps assisted living or a condo or a very small home in town where they don't need the riding mower. The point of today's wisdom is see if you can negotiate for those items so you don't have to pay retail for all of these things.
Okay, I didn't think about it. So as the buyer, I'm looking around the house, but if I see a bunch of tools and a nice big pegboard and everything up there, and I hear that maybe they're a little older and they want to move, maybe they don't want all these tools, and especially maybe a shed out in the backyard. Hey, can I take a look in the shed and see what you have? And if you do have a riding lawnmower, why go buy a new one? You know, you can make a little extra money off me. I can buy that from you.
Is that something you write into the contract? Is that something you just approach the seller with later? How does that work on the timing?
If you could see that someone's perhaps older, maybe a listing agent tells me or tells my buyer and says, hey, these folks are slowing down in life and they've bought a condominium. My first thought is, what's here that they don't need anymore? Whether it's the ortho products for the outside gardening, whether it's the lawnmower, it might be that if you make an offer and say, we'd like you to leave those things, it might be a relief for them thinking that they don't have to go sell that at pennies on the dollar at an estate sale, and that it would benefit the buyer and that all these things aren't just going to be thrown away. For instance, my father has passed and he has this amazing set of Craftsman tools.
Okay.
Dave, you got any Craftsman sockets or wrenches?
I do, yes.
Stuff's expensive.
Yes, it is.
It's really quality. And so if you went in and looked at my dad's set of tools, I bet he's got $10,000 worth of tools.
Oh, wow.
But if he goes and sells it at an estate sale, it sells for $1,500.
Yeah.
And so I've taken what I want, but if a buyer came and saw that set of tools, they might think, wow, it sure would be great to get this without having to go in and pay for it. In most cases, the seller would just have to sign a statement. It can't really be part of the purchase contract that just says, I'm going to leave these things here. And here's my signature. And when we go to closing, I'm going to leave these things.
And that's probably because of the loan. If they're getting a loan, a lender doesn't want to see that they are loaning on hoses. It's for real property.
Sure.
So in the case of a cash sale, it would be real simple. But
That's
in the
right.
case of a loan, we just need to separate it out.
Let's change the scenario here. Now you're just dealing with Wally, and Wally's moving to Little Rock, and the buyer walks in and says, there are some things I think I'd really like to try to negotiate for. They could go in and write those in either up front, or I might be more likely as a seller to say, why don't you go in and do your inspections first? And let's see what you come up with. And I've got some things of value here. So when you hit me with little diddly squat items in the inspection report.
You have something to bargain with as the seller as well.
That's right. So we typically tell our sellers when they say, hey, I'll leave the washer, dryer, refrigerator with the home, Wally. Those are just going to stay. And my advice always is, let's just say you'll leave them at the right price, because I need something to negotiate for with you, so that you don't just give these items away and then someone asks you for more after the inspection period. There's a lot of things that home sellers may have inside their home, Dave. It could be a pool table, There's a lot of sellers that don't want their pool table.
And movers don't want to move.
And that's right. It's
You
like that
learned that.
roll-top desk you were talking
Yes.
about. It may be a ping pong table. It can be the outdoor furniture.
Okay.
So many things you should probably consider negotiating for. If you know the seller doesn't want it up front, you might be able to ask for that up front. If you don't know that, maybe better to ask for it after you've done inspections and it's time to negotiate a final agreement with the seller.
Let's go right into House Talk Part 2. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks about what you should know, maybe what you shouldn't know about the home inspection process.
What you might not find out until later, what you might not ever hear.
Yeah, exactly. You've shared some home inspectors' secrets. Some of these are things that an inspector probably wouldn't say or tell you when you call or meet with them at the home. And our listeners can hear those shows, obviously, from the last week, the week before at wallytalkshouses.com. You said that this week would be things that everyone should know and understand about a home inspection at the home you're buying or selling. What do you have to share with us today?
Well, I'll share a pretty short list and ask Cindy to add her commentary in here, too, about things you really should know and understand. And several of these items, Dave, I'm going to give credit to the home inspectors. They do a tough job. The conditions can be hot, they can be cold, they can be icy.
They're in the attic. Sometimes they're crawling under houses with spiders and
crawl
snakes.
spaces in the mud. Yeah, so
Ooh-wee.
let's give home inspectors credit where credit is deserved. But, Dave, home inspectors often find and report a lot of items and fixes in their report. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, if I'm a buyer and I get this report, there may be 20 or 30 or 40 items, but you probably want to be really careful about asking the seller to do every nitpicking little thing because you might just blow the deal. You want to be reasonable. You're looking for, did the home inspector find things that would keep me from wanting to buy the home? And then as a seller, when you get this 52 or 29 or 75 page report, don't freak out because a lot of home inspectors today will shoot pictures. They'll put headings in every section: electrical, plumbing, structure, roofing. And
But it's not necessarily everything the buyer wants fixed. It's just a report where that inspector has documented all these things.
That's right. And the inspections take time. The inspection might take 2 or 3 hours because the inspector really just has to be thorough. They've got to take the time and care to find and report everything they see so that the buyer isn't upset later. I remember an inspection probably in my first couple of years in business. It was the Willoughbys, and I was in 4-H with their son Jason, and they bought a home. And after closing, I remember Mr. Willoughby called and said, "Hey, your home inspector missed something." And I said, "Oh gosh, what was that?" And he said, "Well, I got underneath the kitchen sink to change it out, and I grabbed the P-trap, and it just cratered in my hand. It was just worn out and deteriorated." And I said, "Oh, is that going to cost much to fix?" And he said, "No, I just wanted you to know he missed it." And I thought, I can't really see a home inspector walking in and literally taking a P-trap and starting to crush it in their hand, like you're squeezing an orange. You might get in trouble for doing that, something a home inspector does have to do.
And when you think about these home inspections, the buyer definitely wants to be present and their agent, and of course the inspector, but the seller, as we discussed before, should not be there because a buyer wants to feel comfortable talking to their agent and to the inspector about things and not having the seller defending their house.
Sure.
I agree. And be extra cautious, Dave, if you're buying a flipped home where the seller hasn't owned it for very long.
Boy, that is so true because sometimes they'll put a real nice coat of paint or cover things up, but really haven't lived there to know about all the details of the home.
Let's compare that to buying it from an owner that's been there 20 years, knows exactly what happens when it rains hard, knows about the quirks and issues. I mean, homes are like people, Dave. Every home's got a personality, right?
Yes.
It's like noses, right? Every nose is different. So every home is different. So the longer someone's lived there, the more likely they're going to be able to say, hey, a couple of times a year, the sewer line backs up, and you're going to have to call a roto-rooter or a plumber out and snake that deal. If it rains really, really hard, there's some water that comes in the garage door. Now, you catch a flipper that buys a home during the summer, and they're not living in the home, so they don't run the water and get the sewer back up. So be very careful about maybe doing a little more thorough inspection.
That's exactly right. It's not to say you can't buy a home from somebody who has flipped it, hasn't lived in it, but it means that you're going to have to spend the money on professionals to check out everything. And of course, as Wally said, the inspector can't predict the future. We do have a seller's disclosure statement, and if somebody is lived in a home and or has knowledge of the home, they do fill that out. But if somebody has not lived in the home and has no knowledge of the home, they can actually fill out a disclaimer, which just says, we don't know. And so then more inspections are required.
Let me ask this. I didn't think about this, but if you're buying a home and you do your research, you know that the person you're buying it from has been in the home for 9 months. That's it. Can I go back and look at the inspection from when they bought it and see what was on that inspection report?
Could ask for
They
it.
wouldn't be required to give you a copy, but
Okay.
that's a really, really good idea. And getting back to what Cindy said about inspections is, man, Dave, I'd be spending the money on the big item stuff.
Heat
If it's an
and
older
air.
home, what about the sewer line on a really
Yeah.
older home? What about the electrical and plumbing on older homes? Does it have aluminum wiring? Does it have knob and tube? Is water getting in underneath the home? So I'd be looking at drainage, definitely the roof, definitely the HVAC, and definitely the foundation. And as the home gets older, you would expect there to be more issues. But boy, spend the money on the big ticket stuff.
Absolutely. And there's some simple things you can do as a home seller that really help in the process. And one of them is change your light bulbs so when they go in for the inspection and they flip on the light and it doesn't come on, a home inspector is not going to try to fix it. You can label your switches if they're in really odd places and hard to find. And I would recommend open and close every window. Look for broken window locks. Fog glass on a thermopane window indicates that seal is broken. You can test your GFCI. Do you know what that is, Dave?
It's the little red light where if like I run a blow dryer and it pops a little circuit, it's not going to go through the house and fry everything. It just pops the thing off.
It's usually in a wet area, isn't it? Kitchen,
like
bathrooms.
Yeah, if your home doesn't have GFCI outlets, the home inspectors are probably going to require that as a safety issue.
And you can test your smoke detectors. Maybe you haven't had your heat and air service. That might be something you can do. But an easy thing is just look under your bathroom and kitchen sink. See if they're leaking. It's surprising how many times we look under a kitchen
really
sink.
is.
Sure.
And that is leaking. And you know what? You need to understand that the seller is under no obligation to fix anything. And then it's your decision once you have this home inspection whether you want to ask the seller to fix it or not. And I definitely recommend that you research the cost of insurance early on. Claims history can elevate the cost you pay.
Yeah, absolutely, because insurance costs are so high.
That's
so don't
right.
just end with just your inspections, but during that inspection period, you want to check out the cost of insurance. Dave.
We've talked about the last couple of months about home affordability and people really kind of having to tighten the purse strings to be able to get in. And one of the things is like the taxes and home insurance that have gone up as well. So it seems like that is one way a buyer maybe can control the cost of their monthly house payment is finding more affordable homeowners insurance. I think that's my opinion, and you guys hopefully will back this. I think everyone knows that when you close, you pay for your insurance up front, and then you have to put some in escrow for a savings account that if
That's
it goes up, they start applying that. Is that correct?
You pay your insurance up front to make it active, and then you put it in your escrow account, and typically your lender will then pay your insurance the next year when it's due. They do notify you, though, if there is a shortage, and then your payment's going to go up.
So I imagine you can find some creative ways to cut the cost of your homeowner's insurance down, maybe like the hazard insurance policy.
That's right.
How can that make a difference?
Got some good ideas here. So a list of 9 items, and we'll go through these fairly quickly. So number 1, you can increase your deductible for your insurance and save money. You want to be careful about that. Cindy, you've talked on the shows about establishing a slush fund that you just need to assume a worst case when you buy a home. Make sure you've got some savings put back. Number 2 on my list today, Dave, is to make your home more secure and then tell your insurance carrier what you've done. It could be a burglar alarm security system. It could have cameras. You might install deadbolt locks that make it harder for someone to break in. You're just trying to show your insurance carrier that you're trying to reduce their risk and exposure for insuring your property. So there's things you can do on your own that are pretty affordable there and probably give you more peace of mind.
You're taking that responsibility upon yourself to protect your stuff.
Absolutely.
That's right. And ask about discounts. If you don't have any smokers living in your house, there may be a discount for that. You can pay your premium via automatic bank payments, and you can choose paperless billing and check and see with your carrier if they give you a discount for that. And if you work in a specific career, such as teaching, engineering, or firefighting, many insurance carriers give you a discount for that.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to hit what Cindy said there. So if you have recently bought, a lot of insurance carriers know you have probably cars along with your house. So they're going to encourage you to bundle your insurance together.
Absolutely.
Now they pick up your homeowners. Now they pick up your cars.
It's surprising the discount you get with that bundling. It is pretty amazing.
Dave, also making improvements that matter to your insurance carrier. So you change your roof shingles out because a hailstorm comes through.
Yes.
You decide to put on the heavy Class 4 shingles.
That was so interesting. When we moved from our old house and we built our new house 7 years ago, we did a Class 4 roof, and we were surprised at how inexpensive the insurance was.
The insurance policy started it was just under $10,000 per year. And I saw the number at the top, and I'm like, bah, that's a lot of money to insure our home.
Yes.
Then it got down to the Class 4 shingles. There was a $3,300 discount based on putting on those Class 4 shingles.
On a $10,000
Well,
policy.
and you think about the fact that those are going to be more impact resistant in a hailstorm, and probably that insurance carrier isn't going to have to replace your roof as frequently.
But there's other things you could do too. Let's say you did buy an older home. If you start updating the plumbing and electrical systems and you report those to your carrier, now they figure you're going to have less problems with plumbing or electrical.
Yes.
So you definitely want to report those things. And improving your credit score is a really big one. That's a big one.
This next one is really interesting, and I just watched an Instagram video on this. I follow this guy, this orthopedic surgeon on Instagram, and a neurosurgeon, and they say, hey, what would I not do as an orthopedic surgeon? And he says, I would not have a trampoline on my property. He said, you can't believe the number of broken bones we see from trampolines.
A lot of people have
And
those.
so getting rid of some of that high-risk stuff, like a trampoline, making sure if you do have a pool that your fencing is in good order and your gate on that fencing is locked. There's some things you can do like that to make sure your property's safe and you have less risk for your insurance carrier.
Great show, great advice, great ideas. Especially, you never could talk too much, I think, about how to save money on taxes on a home insurance, ways to kind of just get that payment down just a little bit to make home affordability a little better.
And there's one more thing you want to do, Dave, and it's exactly what Kim did before she chose you to be her mate and man and married you, and that was she shopped around. So what you want to do is shop around for insurance. Go to the biggies, go to some smaller companies, check out Safeco. Cindy and I have had pretty good experience with really good coverage, great service, but more importantly, to actually be able to cover our rental properties with literally full replacement coverage. So whatever you do, everything in life, shop around.
Well, you know what I did is I followed the leader. I looked at pictures of old boyfriends, and I said, if that's what she likes, that's what I'm doing. All right, it's been a great show. We're going to wrap everything up in just about 2 minutes. Stick around.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
If your home isn't selling in the current market, maybe you need my written guarantee. Your home sold guaranteed at a price we both agree to up front, or I'll buy your home for cash myself. No gimmicks. Call Wally today at your home sold guaranteed realty. 330-3000. 330-3000.
Hey, it's John Tesh, and if you're selling this year, there's only one man who's willing to guarantee the sale of your home at a price agreeable to you, or he's going to buy it himself. And that's Wally Kerr at your home sold guaranteed realty at 999-6000. He's the only man I'd call to sell my home because He has a proven system that just creates more demand for any home. And that's what you want. More buyers interested so that you, voila, put more money in your pocket. Call Wally today. That's your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 918-999-6000. That's 999-6000.
Would your home sell faster and for more money if it were in better condition? Introducing our Fix It to Sell program. For one reasonable, flat fee, we're willing to advance you the money to make needed repairs or improvements when you list your home for sale with us, so that you can sell your home faster and for more money. Call Wally at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000 to access our Fix It to Sell program. And remember, if you're selling your home, Wally has the buyers. Call us today at 330-3000.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy, along with Dave McKay.
As we wrap up the show this week, how about a quick report on interest rates, what they're doing, at least maybe an estimated range?
You're asking what I hear just almost every day when I go to lunch, and you probably see me around the metro. It's always the question of, how's real estate and what are the interest rates like?
Yeah.
And so, number one, we're not serving as many people as we're accustomed to serving because a lot of people are married to their mortgage rate. And so if you've got a 2 3/4 or a 3 or a 3.5 or a 4 or even a 5, you're not really super motivated with the current rates that are between about 6.5 and 7. Now, you got to have good credit and good income. In some cases, this would be a credit score of as high as maybe 680. Or 700, and that's a good credit score. If you've got a credit score between 720 and 800, you've got a smoking good credit score, and you're going to get the best rates out there. And Dave gave the celebration sign.
That's right.
So it sounds like you've got good credit. We're talking a lot with Chris Doak these days and watching to see what will happen. Dave, here's the big one. We've hit this a little bit on the last couple of shows. There was good inflation news 2 weeks ago, where inflation has eased up some from what it was like in the month of May. June's inflation report was much better. Next month, in August, we'll get July's inflation report and see what happens. So because the inflation news was good, the lenders pulled their rates back a little bit. If they were at 7.25, we saw those rates drop to about 7. For a buyer that could get a 7, maybe they drop back to 6 3/4. And for those really good buyers that had that great 700-800 credit score, where rates were 6 3/4, now they pulled back to maybe around 6.5. But there's not any expectation that rates will get any better until the Fed pulls the trigger, until they actually say, let's drop our rate. The Fed's rate today is 5.25 to 5.5, and that's what they charge.
And that's not the mortgage rate.
That's what they charge member institutions. Let's remember that your lender is going to do a job for you, and they're going to make some profit, and that's the way that banks and lenders stay in business. So we don't expect to see any lowering of rates. The interest rates, the current rates that we're talking about now, 6.5 to 7, and some people will pay more. If you don't have a perfect credit score, for instance, do you know, Dave, if someone's got some money in the bank, maybe they've got a little nest egg of $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more saved up, but they just kind of went through a little bit of a rough period, and they don't have the best credit score. Do you know on an FHA you can actually go in and get a 30-year mortgage with a credit score of 580 to 600?
You have to put a little bit of that money down? Is that what you're doing?
It may not be extra money down, but here's the way the lender looks at it. Hey, you don't have a perfect credit score. There's probably a reason that happened. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe something happened medically and one bill didn't get paid on time to the hospital.
Sure.
They're looking and saying, even though they don't have a great credit score, they've got money in the bank where they can make their payment.
And that's called reserves. Reserves are very important.
So they know that you've done a good enough job to, one, learn from a mistake, or just something happened, and you're still not going along with no money and a bad credit score. It's like, I have the money in the bank, and they can see that, and they go, okay, so this guy kind of has all of his faculties about him, so he could probably do a good job with the loan.
So if you get in a pickle again, you've got some money to make that payment.
Wouldn't you say that there is some mentality out there that you're supposed to have 20% down to buy a home?
Yes.
And we know you don't need 20% down. You don't have to have a 640 credit score if you've got some reserves and money saved up in the bank. So let's get back to, you're a first-time buyer. You're ready to get into the market. You wish rates would come down. Not so fast. Those rates are already down, and we're just not going to see any easing until the Fed actually does lower its rate. But here's the funny one, Dave. I mean, they might go in and lower the rate by 0.25%, and it might not change the rates at all. Why? Because lenders are expecting that to happen now in August or September.
Okay, so if I'm a buyer looking to buy a new home because I got a new job, but maybe it's within the metro, I need to move from Norman to Edmond or Edmond to Norman or whatnot. You had a very interesting number towards the beginning of the show that there was about 10,000 homes with signs in the yard. So people semi-actively or actively looking to sell their homes, 10,000. And only about 35% of those homes, I think, if I was correct.
31%.
31% are under contract. So I could see it now as a buyer. Maybe I'm not going to get the exact rate I want, but there's ways to maybe make it better for me because it's almost like a buyer's market.
You've got some choice now, which is great.
Yeah, so I could basically go, I really like these 3 homes. I'm leaning towards this one, but I like the neighborhood this one's in.
Sure.
Mr. Seller, how can you help me out with this? Are you going to pay my closing costs?
And that's a great position to be in
100%.
because now you've got 3. And if the first one doesn't work out, your offer isn't accepted by that seller, you can move on to that second one.
Now,
So that's
I
a
want
way to save a little bit of that money then.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we define 10,000 signs in yards. We can take any home or property, no matter what city it's in Oklahoma, and actually put it into our MLS. Now, most of them are going to be in the Oklahoma City metro area.
Yes.
But I know there's some lady realtors who have kind of cornered this Broken Bow part of the state on these resort properties. That's a long way from Oklahoma City and
So
Broken
some of
Bow.
them might be out of the area.
So there are some homes that are out of area, but yeah, that's what's relative for us is watching how many homes are active and how many are pending or under contract.
Yes.
But I think you guys' point is really good. As the inventory goes up and it shifts to more of a buyer's market, now you've got a better chance, probably a better chance than next spring. What happens next spring if there's been 3 rate reductions by the Fed?
Now you're
and the rates
competing
are lower,
against
and now
all
you're
these
competing.
buyers.
Yes.
So don't discount that this isn't a good time of year to buy because home prices are continued to expect to increase in value. There's more homes on the market. You're more likely to get a price reduction or closing costs paid. And by the way, Dave, for anybody listening who says, okay, that makes sense. Maybe I can get my closing costs paid. Maybe I've got a good enough credit score to qualify. Maybe I'm going to be able to get enough off of the purchase price. Start with Chris Doak at Gateway Mortgage, one of our preferred lenders. Great service, great interest rates, lots of programs. One of those may fit exactly what you need. Give Chris a call, and they have what are called weekend warriors that we talk about here on the show some, Dave. These are people from noon to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday that will help you get that pre-approval letter that you need or be able to pull and see what your credit score is and talk to you about qualifying. And you may find that it's easier for you to do that on a weekend because you're working during the week.
Tell us his number.
Chris Doak at Gateway. Call his office, 405-253-2276. I know you're going to get great service because
And you know what I like about these weekend warriors? It used to be that bankers only worked during the week, but real estate happens all week long, right?
Yes.
And all weekend long. And so it's great that he's got folks there ready to help you. If you find a home, we show you something, we're in an open house, and they can get you pre-qualified.
Once again, another 5-star show from Wally and Cindy Kerr.
Thanks, Dave.
A lot of great information there. And again, if you joined us late and it's Saturday, you can listen to the show in its entirety Sundays beginning at noon, or go to all the major podcast platforms and go to wallytalkshouses.com where you can actually subscribe, get notifications when the new shows go up. That's my little pitch right there for going back and listening to 70 plus shows of information. So you could be as well versed as I am to get your real estate license because I'm almost there with all of the knowledge I've gained from you guys.
You're not only a good talker, Dave, but you're a good listener. And I know you've picked up
And you
a lot
ask
of information.
great questions, too.
Well,
Well,
and
my
we
wife
would
taught
like
me that.
we'd like our listeners say that again.
My wife taught me to be a good listener.
Yeah, you had to learn to be a good
Yes,
listener, didn't you?
yes.
Listen, if you'd like for us to talk about a topic on the air, we'd love to hear from our listeners. So text us at 330-3000 and say, hey, could you hit a segment on this? And we'll at least let you know if it was talked about in a recent show. we'll let you know which show it was on.
Or if they want some of those tickets.
And if they want tickets to the Oklahoma City Remodeling and Landscaping Show for next weekend at the fairgrounds, give us a call or text at 330-3000.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
This has been the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally and Cindy Kerr. Heard every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and replayed on Sundays at noon right here on 1520 a.m. and 95.3 FM KOKC. Selling or buying a home is a major decision in life, and you can place your trust in Wally and Cindy as local experts with over 35 years of real estate experience. Call or text them today at 330-3000 to request a personal visit or consultation. And be sure to visit wallytalkshouses.com to access the library of shows and topics available for download.